In this video, I talk about my favourite non-comedy TV shows. Hi everybody, and welcome to this video where I'm going to be talking about my top 10 TV shows, specifically the non-comedy ones. This isn't a ranking of the top 10 because I don't think that would be possible in my mind, so I shall list them in alphabetical order, and I shall begin by actually talking about two shows together because they both come first alphabetically anyway, and they are linked shows, and that is Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel. I was slow getting into Buffy. I was aware there was a film of that title. I was also aware that it wasn't particularly good. So when the TV show was announced, didn't really appeal, and there's always the stigma of the title as well. So when they started showing it here on BBC Two, just didn't appeal at all. My mum started watching it and she was like, "Oh, you must watch it, it's really good." Didn't bother, didn't listen to her. Then they started releasing it on DVD, and all the DVD magazines I was reading at the time are saying what a brilliant series it was, and it's a must-buy DVD set. So in the end I gave in and bought Series 1 and was instantly hooked. It is a masterpiece of a TV show. It is probably my favourite TV show of all time. The casting is fantastic, the writing is fantastic, the whole way it plays with the genre, and it uses the horror as a metaphor for growing up, and all the sorts of things, just the interplay between the characters. It's just wonderful. I don't know how to describe it to somebody who's never seen it, but from saying that 90% of all your favourite TV shows, genre TV shows since Buffy's been out, have been hugely influenced by Buffy. Battlestar Galactica, New Who, Lost Heroes. It's changed the way TV drama, particularly genre drama, has been written. It's introduced phrases like Big Bad for the villain of the season. That started on Buffy. All sorts of things like that. It's just groundbreaking. Joss Whedon is just wonderful, genius. So yeah, Buffy, and then its spin-off Angel. Not quite as good as Buffy, but still brilliant. Lots of shared cast, lots of new cast coming in. Again, it is very much a continuation of style, theme. It's just that little bit darker. What I would say is Angel was a more consistent series. Buffy, over these 7 series, I would say 70% of it was very good, 25% of it was excellent, best things ever on telly, and then 5% of it was not quite so good. With Angel, I would say that 95% of it was very good. No, 90% of it was very good. 5% was excellent, 5% was... So it's a more consistent series. But heartily recommend them both. Buffy and Angel. Next up is I suppose you'd call it a game show. That's for Crystal Maze. Hopefully most of you are familiar with the show. It's a game show where a team play a number of games in different zones to win crystals, and that number of crystals equate to time at the end in a big crystal where they have to collect tokens that are being blown around by the wind. It sounds weird. If you've never seen it, none of that's going to make much sense. I've watched it since the very first show. I was attracted by the fact it was originally hosted by Richard O'Brien, creator of the Rocky Horror Show, and instantly hooked. The games are brilliant. The contestants, sometimes you watch them and you're marvelled by how brilliant they are. Sometimes you watch and you're marvelled by how stupid they are. The hosts, all 4. So originally it was hosted by Richard O'Brien. When he left, it taken over by Edward Tudor Pole, who is actor and he was also frontman of a band Temple Tudor, who released the first single I ever bought, but that's by the by. There was a couple of charity specials hosted by, I think he did two, might have only been one I think it was, Stephen Merchant, and then it's recently been revived and it is hosted by the magnificent Richard Ayoade. All of the hosts have been brilliant at being the right side of taking the mick out of the contestants whilst also being on their side. It is entirely responsible for the fact that I call my mum Mumsy. In Richard O'Brien's era, one of the games involved a fortune teller lady who would ask questions, riddles, to the contestants in order for them to win the crystal, and Richard referred to her as Mumsy, as if she was his mother. And ever since, as I say, Mum has been Mumsy to me. But yes, it is just a magnificent show. Always a joy to watch. Crystal Maze. Next up will probably be no surprise to many of you, and it's Doctor Who. Doctor Who was obviously around when I was growing up. One of my earliest TV memories is the end of Logopolis, Tom Baker's last set of shows, and then him regenerating into Peter Davison. Most vivid memories growing up of watching it is towards the end in the Sylvester McCoy era, but we used to watch it as a family, I think, anyway, whenever it was aired. But yes, it's definitely the Sylvester McCoy era that I vividly recall watching. I mean, I would have been, 87 it finished, so I would have been 10 to 12 when Sylvester McCoy was airing. Was madly in love with Sophie Aldred as Ace. Then I remember the TV movie and the excitement about that and watching that. Always used to look at the VHSs when they all came out on VHS, but never succumbed and bought any of them. Then when BBC eventually joined the DVD market, they were a little bit late. I think a couple of years after the DVD launched, they launched a set of 5 titles. Definitely Monty Python compilation, Hitchhikers, I think, A Life on Earth or something like that. Can't remember the other one. Oh, it might have been This Life for TV drama, which is brilliant. That was definitely an early one. That might have been in the first 5. And The 5 Doctors, the 20th anniversary multi-doctor show. And I bought that. That was obviously a huge seller. They started releasing the whole range. I just sort of fell into buying them all. So I have every existing show on DVD. When New Who launched, with Russell T Davies show running, Christopher Eccleston as the Doctor, I was very much a Doctor Who fan by that stage. I had already met a lot of the cast of the classic series. So I was really excited for New Who, and it didn't disappoint. I've loved it all, some more than others, obviously. I like all the Doctors. I've met all the living male Doctors, yet to meet Jodie, but I'm excited about her casting. I have no problems with it being a woman Doctor, as long as the show isn't about her being a woman. It is just about her being the Doctor, if that makes sense. Which I'm sure it will be, going by what we've seen. So yeah, love Doctor Who. If anybody ever asks me who my favourite Doctor is, I always say it's the last one I watched. It's not entirely accurate, because I'm not a big fan of William Hartnell. Because he was quite late in the Doctors I saw, his performance as the Doctor, although it was obviously the original and set up how the Doctor should be, it jars compares to the rest. I'll say that compares to the rest. I think really it was Pat Troughton onwards where the Doctor really became the Doctor. I think playing him as an elderly grandfather, as again, you know, obviously this is how the show was conceived, doesn't quite gel with the Doctor we came to know and love, the action hero-y type, you know, running around Doctor. And I'm not even talking about, you know, where he's gone in New Who, but even, you know, as I say, from Troughton onwards, Pertwee especially, you know, it's a lot more active Doctor, shall we say. But still enjoy a lot of the Hartnell era, but he's just not a Doctor I particularly warm to, shall we say. But I say all the others, if I've just watched them, they tend to be my favourite Doctor. If I had to nail it down, I would probably say, because he's the one I grew up with, Sylvester McCoy. From classic era, maybe Peter Davison. And from New Who, probably Tennant. So I loved them all. Capaldi, I really enjoyed his performance as a Doctor. I think he was let down a bit by some of the writing, especially towards the middle of his era. But yes, Doctor Who, love it. Next is Game of Thrones. As soon as I heard about Game of Thrones, I was interested mainly because of some of the cast members. Lena Headey plays Cersei, has been a long-term favourite actress of mine since I saw her in a thing called Loved Up in '95, I think it was. Natalia Tena, who is just one of my favourite people on the planet. And a few of the other cast members, but particularly those two made me think, well, I'm going to watch this. Because I don't have Sky, I didn't see it until it came out on Blu-ray, which was nearly a year after it aired. Loved it instantly. Have continued to love it since. Have met a lot of the cast. Bit gutted because I was sort of running a year behind because I was having to wait for Blu-rays. For the first, I think it was 4 series, the Blu-rays didn't come out until just before the next series aired. They've changed that recently and they're now coming out closer to transmission, which is better. But because of that, I've missed meeting a lot of people who I didn't realise were quite so important to the series. Before I'd even seen it at Entertainment Media Show in London, which is where I met David Tennant, Diana Rigg, they had Maisie Williams. I didn't have a clue. I just knew she was a child who was in Game of Thrones. I didn't know if she was a big part, a small part, what would happen to her character, so I didn't meet her. I am gutted about that. A few years later, they had quite a few who were, at the time, lesser Game of Thrones guests, including Gwendolyn Christie. Again, hadn't seen her on screen, didn't have a clue who she was, didn't bother to meet her. Gutted. Sorry about that. I soon learnt, but I couldn't wait for the Blu-rays to watch the series, so I illegally downloaded 3 episodes. I then subsequently get the Blu-rays when they come out. So don't sue me, HBO. But it's so I can keep on top of it and make sure I can get the important characters I want to get. I don't collect absolutely everybody from Thrones, but get quite a lot of them. Any sort of major characters or just people who I like anyway, I will meet. But yeah, love Game of Thrones. It's just a brilliant series, all the intrigue, and it gets very confusing at times, but in a good way. Tits and dragons. What is there to complain about? Game of Thrones, genius. Next, going back to the 80s for Moonlighting. Moonlighting was the launch of Bruce Willis's career. He starred with Sybil Shepherd as a pair of detectives in the Blue Moon Detective Agency. When Moonlighting was good, it was magnificent. Unfortunately, it got hit with lots of writers' strikes and availability issues of the stars, particularly Bruce, because he then had to do Die Hard and because of his success in Moonlighting, he went on to do Die Hard, which was filming concurrently with the show, and his fame just rocketed. So some episodes aren't great. Some episodes suffer through lack of the main characters. Although he did have Mr. Viola, Herbert Viola, and Agnes Dupesto to carry the can, who were brilliant as well. But as I say, when Moonlighting was good, it was brilliant. There's the Taming of a Shrew episode. It was wonderful. It's the black and white episode, which always reminds me of... We sat watching it. I think it was on a night my mum was at night school, so mum never used to watch it. I vividly remember sitting with my dad and my sister, sitting around the telly watching it. And I think I came in about 5 minutes late for whatever reason. And so it had gone into the black and white section. And they were convincing me that it wasn't in black and white. They were seeing colour. And it was me, I was only seeing it in black and white. It's an everlasting memory from watching the show. But yeah, Moonlighting, at its best, magnificent. Next we're going on to a quiz show. It's a recent quiz show. It still airs now. I think it's the best quiz show that has ever been made. And I love quiz shows anyway. I used to be in a quiz team. I compile quizzes, music quizzes and entertainment quizzes for a local club. But as I say, best quiz show ever made, in my opinion, is Pointless. Just the whole idea of it is great. It rewards knowing really obscure shit, which is what I excel at. That's how my brain works. I store really useless bits of information, cast members, album tracks and all sorts of things like that. So I love the whole premise of it. The hosts, Alexander Armstrong and Richard Osman, are brilliant. They work really well together. Their banter, the way they present the quiz. So the format is just genius. Whenever possible, it's one I sit and watch with my mum, and we play it properly as if we were a team on the quiz. I've got the app on my phone and we play that against each other. Just love Pointless. Back to genre TV, and the eighth favourite, not eighth favourite, but the eighth in my top 10 is Quantum Leap. Again, a show I grew up watching. Again, a show where the premise is brilliant. Dr. Samuel Beckett, scientist, invents a quantum accelerator. He steps into it and it leaps him into the body of a person. And he's trapped in that person's body. He has his own mind, but he's in that person's body. And he's trapped in it until he can put right a wrong. So it could be a character's death, it could be something that should have happened that didn't happen. It could be, making true love happen, all sorts of things. But it's a wonderful premise because he leaps. He can only leap within his own lifetime. So he can't go back to, the 17th century or anything like that. But he can travel throughout modern American history, basically. Which involved, through the series, getting involved in the civil rights movement. He leapt into the body of a black man. He leapt into the body of Lee Harvey Oswald in a very controversial two-part episode that basically they went with Lee Harvey Oswald was the lone shooter theory, and he had to kill Kennedy. Spoiler. For history to work properly, obviously. He met young Buddy Holly. There's an Elvis episode as well. All sorts. At one point he leapt into a woman. They could just play with it brilliantly. Some episodes were better than others. There's some... When you watch it, some of the supporting cast would go on to greater things. I think I remember Terry Hatcher being in one. Various people. But it's just a really good series. Dean Stockwell was his guide Al, who was his assistant in the lab, and he could get projected as a hologram that only Sam could see to guide Sam as to what he needed to do by running statistics, things like that. Anyway, brilliant show, Quantum Leap. Next is a show some of you are going to go, huh? Strictly Come Dancing. Yes, Strictly Come Dancing. It is the perfect entertainment show as far as I'm concerned. Didn't see the first series. Second series, I only started watching because we used to watch It Takes Two, the spin-off show, at 6 o'clock on BBC Two each weekday evening. And I got hooked through that. And towards the end of it, did I watch? I think towards the end of that series, I saw a few episodes of the main show. But from series 3 onwards, I've seen absolutely every single episode and every single It Takes Two. I love the show. Each year, I mean, remember, as I'm recording this, we're about halfway through announcing the cast for the next series. And it's the same as every year. There's a few people you think don't know who they are, or you've heard of them, but not really familiar with them. There's a few people you think, there's a couple of people I thought, oh, they're going to be good. It's usually a bit of totty. It's always interesting, but you never know who the stars of the show are going to turn out to be. You can guess, and you think, oh, they're going to do really well, and they get knocked out halfway through. It's always a joy to watch and follow the journey, to use the J word. And It Takes Two, the spin-off show, I probably prefer even to the main show. Originally it was hosted by Claudia Winkleman, who is just nuts in a wonderful way. When she went over to the main show, it's taken over by Zoe Ball, who has always been my favourite TV presenter ever since I saw her. She used to work as a runner on Big Breakfast, before later she went on to host Big Breakfast. In the Chris Evans era, she was a runner on it. And she got the gig in the Children's BBC broom cupboard, and so just before she left, she went into the bathroom with Chris and Zig and Zag and did an interview, and I saw her on that, fell instantly in love, and I've been in love with her ever since. The wonderful Zoe Ball. So since she's taken over It Takes Two, it's just gone to that extra level for me. But yes, I love Strictly Come Dancing. And finally, in my 10 favourite TV shows is True Blood. Yeah, it's True Blood. It's, if you're not familiar, it's about a time when vampires, a time that makes it, it's modern day, but vampires are out, they exist, people know they exist. There's this product called True Blood, which is fake blood that vampires are supposed to drink, so they don't drink humans' blood, but obviously that doesn't always happen. So it's about the coexistence of vampires and humans, particularly Suki Stackhouse, the main character played by Anna Paquin, who meets and falls in love with Brain Has Gone Dead as to his name, Suki. Google. Bill. Suddenly came to me. Bill Compton. Yeah, Bill Compton moves into his old family home, and him and Suki fall in love, and all the trials and tribulations around that, and local vampire bars run by Eric. It's just so much going on. It's not just vampires, it's a world where all the magical, so it's werewolves and fairies and all sorts. Yeah, and each series has a big bad, lots of cross-pollination, shall we say, of characters in it. It tailed off towards the end. The first 2 series definitely the best. The other series was still great, but just not quite of the calibre of series 1 and 2. Anna Paquin is just magnificent in it. The theme tune is probably the best theme tune on telly, Bad Bad Thing, by Everett somebody, but I can't remember his surname. Yes, just I loved True Blood. So that's my 10 favourite. There's a few close also rans. Most of these suffered from brilliant first series, gradually tailing off dramatically, and never quite. So with True Blood, yes, that sort of happened, but it was sort of went from excellent to very good, whereas these go from excellent to good, if you see what I mean, if that makes sense. So Heroes, obviously that was majorly struck by a writer's strike in the middle of the second season, and it never quite recovered from that. Lost, I don't think they really knew where they were going with that, and they made it so complicated that they tied themselves up in knots. But again, it started brilliantly. Doesn't quite fit that pattern, but The L Word, series about lesbians in LA? New York? LA, I think. Again, it was mainly cast member Mia Kirshner who attracted me to that. So I picked it up on DVD, really enjoyed it. Yeah, L Word's very, very good series. I was toying between putting that and Strictly in my top 10, actually. Torchwood, Doctor Who spin-off. Another series where when it was good, it was really, really good, but sometimes it wasn't great. Probably series 2, probably my favourite, or Children of Earth, which was shown over 5 nights originally. That's definitely the best series. Series 2, which is more of a traditional series, was probably the better than series 1. It sort of found its feet. It had James Masters come in as Captain John. The American series, Miracle Day, too American. Torchwood shouldn't be American. We should be Welsh. But really enjoy it. And the cast were wonderful in that. Similarly, Sarah Jane Adventures, the CBBC Doctor Who spin-off, really enjoyed. Sometimes, the only reason really that's not in the top 10 is because sometimes it was a series for children, sometimes it's a bit childish. But again, the cast, particularly Anjali Mohindra and Daniel Anthony as Rani and Clyde, they were wonderful. They should have gone on to proper Doctor Who as companions, in my opinion. Yeah, easily the best thing about the series. Yeah, absolutely magnificent characters, actors. Yeah, loved them. Bad Girls. It's another series that started really well and then just got a bit silly. And I mean, I've got first 5 series I think on DVD. Yet to bother getting the last couple, but really enjoyed that at the start. The Simpsons, first, should we say 10 series probably. Really good. Still can be very funny, but just doesn't hit the quality mark as much anymore. But I've got all the series that have been released on DVD, and always enjoy them. Firefly could quite easily be a top 10 show if it had longer. The first and only series of Firefly is magnificent, but it was only just finding its feet. I mean, the film Serenity showed where it could go. That's just a wonderful film. The casting was excellent. I've met all of them except Gina Torres. Yeah, Firefly would be there if it had another few seasons, just to really cement its position. Same thing with, and this is a show that don't get a lot of love, the remake of Bionic Woman, starring Michelle Ryan. But I really enjoyed that series. She was brilliant. Katie Sackhoff was brilliant in it as well. Lucy Hale as her sister. All Totty. Funny I should mention them. But yeah, they were all brilliant in it. And it was getting there, and it was cancelled. So we've just got one series, and it's frustrating because I think it could have been really good. Another nearly is the X-Files. I love the X-Files, but my problem with it is that I don't really like the conspiracy, you know, the black oil and all that mess. And I don't mean mess as in it was oil, but again, they seem to be making it up a bit as they went along, similar to Lost. And all that thread got a bit boring. The Monster of the Week episodes were wonderful. Spartacus, only recently seen the Spartacus series for the first time. Really enjoyed them. Personally, I didn't really like the last series. It seemed to lose. It was out of the gladiatorial arena. It was obviously a grander scale. I didn't have a problem with the new Spartacus. Obviously, you know, there's major reasons for that, and I didn't have any problems with that. It just lacked a certain something towards the end, so that's why it hasn't quite made for top 10. But I really enjoyed specifically the first series, but the second series as well. Yeah, others which are quickly Dollhouse. Again, was just getting there and it was cancelled, and Eliza Dushku is wonderful. Similarly, True Calling needed more. Yeah, I can't think of anything else. Up to Alias, another one that started really well, dwindled down, pointing up there because that's where the DVDs are. Yeah, but yeah, I think that's mainly covers them. Oh, Being Human, again, started really well. Although I liked the new cast when all the cast changed, it just takes it away a bit from the series. You know, you start the series watching one group of characters, and you end the series watching a totally different group of characters, and it's not the same series anymore. But it was still very good, but not as good as originally. Similar with Brain's Gone Dead, Lip Service, which you may not be familiar with, as BBC Three series about a group of lesbians. I do like watching series about lesbians, I wonder why. In Scotland, and that also suffered from brilliant first series with brilliant cast. Second series, gradually the cast left the show for various reasons, and it was a largely different cast towards the end. Again, still very enjoyable, but it's not the show you grew up with, if you like. Yeah, I really do think that's it for now. Oh, no, it's not. Batman, 1966 Batman. Again, when it was good, it's great, but it suffered from diminishing returns. Yeah, I really do think that's all the ones I want to mention. Lots of other TV shows I love, but those are the main ones. I hope you've enjoyed this. I will do a follow-up video at some point with my favourite comedy shows. Let me know if you like particular shows, if there's any of these shows you can't stand. Let's get the discussion going. Yeah, like if you've enjoyed it, subscribe if you want, and I'll see you on another video. Thanks for watching. Bye.